probably fair to say that the very first raids in World of Warcraft didn't have a rich and varied artistic style, but very quickly, and especially as the game grew in popularity, raid environments have received the same attention to detail as many other aspects of the World of Warcraft. But which raids did you think were the best from an artistic point of view? So welcome to the second in this series of WoW related countdowns, and this time it's the best raids from an artistic point of view as voted for by you guys. Details for voting on the next video will be covered at the end of this one, and it will work slightly differently. So without further delay, here are the top 5 most artistically pleasing raids. So in 5th place, the Black Temple. Black Temple has a history in the Warcraft lore dating back before World of Warcraft. It was once a Draenei structure, of course, as we're seeing in Warlords of Draenor, before the Orcs attacked, fueled by the blood of Manoroth, of course. In this way, the artist needed to show it as a dark and foreboding palace, as it's now become, but with elements that show something of what it used to be. You can see Draenei structures in the architecture, but robbed of their colour and lights, look much more in keeping with the home of orcs and demons now. The Black Temple had to look like it had been in a great battle. Orcs don't really strike you as the sort who would do a lot of tidying up after the place. So the art team needed to reflect this in fractured masonry and debris. This was certainly all in evidence. 2 raids took equal 3rd place, and the first of those is Naxxramas. Naxxramas, I would say, was probably Blizzard's pièce de la résistance of vanilla. It was very much lauded by those who participated. In the main, it consists of 4 wings which have somewhat different art styles, but all with plenty of skull motifs banded about. Naxxramas was also much larger than it technically needed to be, with different routes around this wings, and this added to the grand scale of the place. In the Asjol Nerubian section, you have arachnid motifs as well as an undulating floor that often had you hearing the skittering of approaching spiders before you ever saw them. In turn, the Plague Wing, Abomination Wing and Death Knight Wing all have their own style suited to the various creations of the Lich King that dwell there. In joint 3rd place is Icecrown Citadel. Icecrown Citadel was built around and under the Lich King's throne while he remained entombed in ice after Warcraft 3. It seems to use a similar trick to the film The Matrix, where everything in the Matrix is pushed towards a subtle green hue. The same thing seems to be true with colours moved more towards the blue for Icecrown Citadel, which gave it a distinct look. As with all of the raids in this list, the architecture changes from area to area, but all with a common theme running through it. From the opulence of the vampire areas to the icy cold of the entrance to the bubbling vats of chemicals around Professor Putricide and his creations. In 2nd place is Ulduar. Now, it should come as no surprise that Ulduar would be on the list. Given that the previous raid tier was a rehash of one that had been completed a few years before, in Naxxramas, and the following one would be the very minimalist Trial of the Crusader, the art department must have had ages to spend on Ulduar, in fact probably more time than any raid before or since. We might have expected something special, and we weren't disappointed. For a Titan structure, it was always going to be grand in scale, but it was filled with details that made it look like the space was functional as well. There was an incredible amount of detail that you probably wouldn't see in other raids, again helped very much by the time they had to do this. From the pile of toys in XT's area, to a tram ride to Mimorun's area, to one boss forming a bridge once defeated, becoming part of the environment itself. There may well be as many reasons for voting Ulduar as there were people for voting, and in truth be told, probably rather more. But I think my favourite part is when you begin to descend into the prison itself and see the shattered remains of the stained glass windows suspended in the air but rotating, as if gravity wasn't quite sure which way is down and is still mulling it over. In number 1 is Karazhan. In many ways, Karazhan could be considered the most popular raid Blizzard have ever done, though of course statements like that can't easily be proven. But even when Sunwell Plateau was out and we were raiding that, we'd still be running Karazhan on a weekly basis at the time, albeit on alts. But has there ever been an initial entry raid that people have run for an entire expansion just for fun? Arguably Molten Core continued to be run even by guilds such as mine that were running Nax at the end of vanilla, but that was as much in the hopes of acquiring legendary items as anything else. Karazhan had nothing like this. It was a half raid, being 10 man when the main raids were 25 man, and no items that were really desirable for tier 6 raiders. There was no transmog then either. The only reason to keep running it was simply for the enjoyment of it. People loved the humour of the opera event and the lore-heavy bosses and environments such as Iran and Nightbane. The chess event was annoying for some, but looked great visually. There were optional bosses, but my experience was that people generally chose to do those bosses anyway, with possible exception of the basement boss. Now, how often does that actually happen in other raids? There were noticeable differences in the decor, from the murky basement to the opulent dining room and ballroom to the many bookcases as might be expected in a wizard's tower, and even a secret passage leading to a refuge for the demons that Medivh presumably communed with while possessed by Sargeras. There are many portraits and busts in the main areas, and presumably many are representing key lore figures from the time, such as Aegwyn, Anduin Lothar and Lane Rin. So that's the top 5 as chosen by you guys, and with some editorial input from myself, from an artistic point of view at any rate. Next week, as we get ready for Legion, I'm going to be asking you, what is it that you are most hyped about? Now, the poll for this one I am going to post on the MMO Champion forums in the Legion area. So I'm going to put a link in the comments below. What I'd like to do is click on that, put your reply there. Apologies if what you're most stoked about isn't there. What I've tried to do is just cover the things that are sort of new for Legion and therefore are very much Legion features, rather than things that are just strictly speaking a continuation of what's already gone before it. The video for that will probably come out in just towards late July. I'm going to say about just over 2 weeks. And then I'm going to be doing the next 2 are going to be related to Warlords of Draenor, which should take us nicely into Legion, after which we'll do some more general interest ones. So if you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And until next time, I'll see you later.